Welcome to The Flow, hosted by Bob Martin, slightly edgy glimpses into politics, culture, society, and being human.
Hello, good people. I want to start with a confession. I wrote the first draft of this piece while I was angry. I mean, really angry. Because today is Donald Trump's 80th birthday, and in 3 weeks it will be America's 250th. And right now, as I'm recording this, there's a UFC cage fight happening on the south lawn of the White House, built for the president's birthday, 3 weeks before the country's. Not a ceremony honoring teachers, not a vigil for the 500,000 Americans killed by the opioid crisis, not a single gesture towards the 42 million people who need food stamps to eat, a cage fight. And I was ready to stop there. But I can't, because that would only be half the story. And the half I'd be leaving out is the one that actually matters. But before I go further, I want to ask you something. We try to do this every week at The Flow. We don't just want to talk at you. We want to hear from you. So this week I've got 2 questions. You can answer one or both of them down in the comments. Here they are. What are you angry about right now? And if you're up to it, what are you proud of about America right now? I mean that seriously. Both questions matter. Drop your answers below. We read every one. And one more thing before we get into it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell. It costs you nothing, and it helps us reach people who need to hear a different kind of conversation. If you're reading this on Substack, consider becoming a paid subscriber. Here's why that matters. Every dollar of paid subscription revenue from the Flow after the platform expenses goes directly to Doctors Without Borders, World Central Kitchen, and Feeding America. You're not just supporting this work. You're feeding someone, you're healing someone, and you're helping keep honest, independent commentary alive at a moment when we need it most. The link's in the description. So let's get into it. 250 years. The most powerful nation in human history, and here is what we have built. 42 million people on food stamps, 27 million without health insurance, the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world, the highest incarceration rate of any democracy on earth, an opioid epidemic that has killed more than 500,000 people and is still counting, a working class that has watched wages stagnate for a generation while the people at the top collected everything that wasn't nailed down. And to mark the occasion, we built a UFC octagon on the White House lawn. Now, I want to be fair. This is not a departure from American values. In too many ways, it is their fullest expression. I mean, we chose the bomber over the teacher, the tank over the clinic, the spectacle over the substance, the aesthetics of greatness over the actual thing. Look, Rome had bread and circuses. We have food stamps and a cage fight on the White House lawn. But here's where I have to stop. Because America is and always has been a split screen. It is the cage on the South Lawn, but it's also the men who waded onto the beaches of Normandy, not for oil or empire, but because something in the American conscience said this is wrong and it has to stop. It is the first responders who drove into Asheville after Hurricane Helene turned it into an island, who brought supplies of roads that weren't roads anymore, who didn't wait to be asked. It's every food bank volunteer who shows up on a Saturday morning not because anyone made them, but because they decided their neighbor being hungry was their problem too. The crass and the decent have always lived in us simultaneously, and that's not an excuse, but it is a diagnosis, and a diagnosis, unlike a verdict, leaves room for treatment. I want to tell you what I've seen lately because I think it matters more than anything I could read to you from a report. I have seen millions of ordinary people, people who used to say they didn't do politics, filling the street at No Kings rallies across this country, not organized by any party, just people who looked up and decided they had something to say. The number of them was more than I expected. I've seen something shift in my classrooms. Students who used to come in checked out now come in with questions, real ones, sharp ones. They are angry, some of them, and anger in a young person who's paying attention is not a problem. It's a beginning. And I've watched the pews in my church fill back up. Not with people who found religion exactly, but with people who found each other. People who needed a place to sit alongside other people who were also trying to figure out how to live decently in a moment that doesn't make decency easy. The streets, the classrooms, the pews, all filling up. 250 years, and we've wasted enormous amounts of it. We have failed people we should have protected. We put a UFC cage on the White House lawn and called it a birthday party. But we have also always, eventually, remembered what we were supposed to be, not what we claimed to be, what we were actually reaching for. Now, I don't know if this is one of those moments. I'm not a prophet, and I've been wrong before. But the streets are full. The classrooms are awake. The pews are filling up. Happy birthday, America! Some of us are still in the argument. Now, if this conversation mattered to you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. And don't forget, answer this week's community prompt in the comments below. What are you angry about right now? And what are you proud of about America right now? The full essay is on Substack at theflowmedia.com. The link is in the description. I'm Bob Martin, and this is The Flow. In order to go with the flow, you have to understand the flow.